don't have enough on their minds sending their kids away to school, here's a stat that's going to send a chill down your spine. Based on a recent study, a quarter of female college students say they were sexually assaulted. This is a frightening but very real part of the hookup culture profiled by our first guest in a recent New York Magazine issue about sex on campus. So everyone, please welcome Katie Van Sickle. Katie, I think as a parent, parents are freaking out when they hear about this hookup culture, but it's such a hot topic these days. First and foremost, how do you define hookups, and how are they different than the hookups that have been going on campuses for years?
Sure. So, well, hookup is a sexual encounter. It can range from kissing to sex. It's a very vague term, but it typically it could happen between friends or acquaintances or total strangers. But about 50% of students are getting together for the first time, and they seem to be sort of moving quicker in the bases. I think because there's a lot of factors at play. There's the sort of the normalization of this culture of kind of moving quickly and you're in the bedroom, but also there's a lot of alcohol. There's a lot of various other kind of things that are happening that make
also dating apps, drugs.
Yeah,
drugs and alcohol sounds like the lethal combination.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you wrote this article to say that you wanted to shine a light on it, and you say both men and women reported that 77.8% of unwanted sex happens in a hookup. There should be a difference between a hookup and sexual assault. How is it? Where did the disconnect come in when hookups and sexual assault have now really become sort of synonymous?
Well, I'm not sure that they're completely synonymous. I mean, sexual assault is a crime. It's a violation of boundaries and a violation of trust. A hookup's a consensual sexual encounter. But what's happening is that in a lot of hookups, there are certain qualities that can lead to uncomfortable and sketchy situations. So, for example, like we said, there's a lot of alcohol. There may also be, there's not necessarily a lot of communication between students or between people. Sort of, you may not know someone very well, so you may not know their boundaries. You may not even really care about them, or if they're happy or they're comfortable. And there's not necessarily a lot of communication around, is this what you want? Do you like this? Is this, are we...
You mean like a relationship?
Right. They don't know each other.
There's an idea.
Yeah, the idea of having a relationship and really knowing the other person and what they want and where
did the students that you interviewed, did they sense a feeling of danger when they were in these situations at all, or not?
Honestly, I think a lot of the students were really surprised that, I think many of the students I spoke with, when they first went to college, they'd heard these stats about sexual assault, but they were really surprised that they were actually experiencing it and that a lot of their friends were actually experiencing it.
So in other words, they know that there's this problem in colleges. So if you hook up with a guy you don't really know, there's a potential for danger there, and yet they still do it. How do you explain that? Or how did they explain it?
Well, I think that this generation of students feels like they should be safe, that they should be able to trust their peers, that they should be able to...
Why do they feel that?
Well, I think we talk about that a little bit in the piece. There is sort of a generational divide on this. I think, for a certain generation, my mother's generation, she would be very surprised to hear that someone could, say, be naked in bed with a partner and feel completely safe.
And not know who they are.
And not know who they are. But I do think that this generation really feels like they should be able to do that they should be safe and be able to trust their partners.
Right, but so I'm chuckling because everyone in the world would love to feel safe with every stranger they ran into.
Yeah.
But in the real world, if you are naked in bed with somebody you don't know, why would you assume that they're going to, especially if both of you are inebriated, why would you assume that either one is listening to stop, no more, let me out when you're in the bed?
Yeah.
Well, there is an aspect of students, they're young. I mean, we're 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old. You're young. You don't necessarily
Don't you think it's also feeling cool? I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think a lot of girls want to be cool girls and meet a guy, go home with him, and it's sort of looked at as if you're not cool with that, then you're kind of
prudish,
nerdy. I mean, it's kind of a label too, in a way.
Yeah, and I think that there's sort of a normalization of the hookup culture.
Right.
So if it's something that you don't necessarily feel comfortable with, it's hard to voice that. It's hard to say, no, ask me on a date. Like, call me on the telephone.
Right.
That's not the norm per se.
Let me ask you this, because I find it interesting. Whenever friends of mine would get together, nobody got to go without somebody knowing where you were.
Exactly.
We would sit on the stoop waiting for you to get done, and then you would come down and get in the car and we'd take off. Where is that camaraderie in this culture? Why don't young women have this relationship with their peers?
Well, I think that I'm not sure that, I think a lot of people are kind of all on the same page. So, for example, I'm not sure that your peers necessarily would say, don't go home with that guy. I think they might say, hey, he's cute, he seems nice, he's in my English class. I mean, there is an aspect of sort of trusting
And you
your
have your
peers.
phone. Most people have cell phones, so they always feel like,
When
well,
you're naked, it's hard to get to it.
That's very true, but
can't remember the
it's
phone
a safety
numbers.
net. I think people think, I have my cell phone, I can call 911 in an emergency, even though in real life, it's not that easy.
Well, and I think on small college campuses, there's also a sense of trust. So you're with people that have high SAT scores or are, sort of high achieving.
I think what this is a great conversation that parents and students need to have at home. Students need to have with one another, parents with their kids as well. Katie, we want to thank you